I promised a long time ago that I was going to do some Doctor Who videos going further back into the series right at the beginning of the reboot, and I never got around to it, so today I'm getting around to it. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and thinking about Doctor Who recently, I'm thinking that there was a lot of promise to it when it was rebooted in the early 2000s with Christopher Eccleston. The previous series that we had seen started with Tom Baker, went into Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, all seemed to have a similar kind of odd thematic element to it, in that someone that looked as bizarre as they did, as they dressed, would be taken seriously anywhere. Sylvester McCoy probably came closer to dressing like a real person than the overly costumed later stage Tom Baker and the entire run of Peter Davison dressed in an Edwardian cricket outfit, and Colin Baker in this patchwork quilt coat of his. They made some remarks in it during the shows that he would be a difficult person to miss. I think, in fact, in Sylvester McCoy's first episode, looking like that, he'd be hard to miss, said his companion. But when they rebooted, and the first time we see Christopher Eccleston, we see somebody who blends right in. Now, in his actions, in the way that he handled the character, he was obviously an alien. He handled being an alien better than anyone since Tom Baker, and had the affectation that was necessary, but he didn't have to dress up like a clown. And unfortunately, I think that's where they got as far as with Colin Baker with it. They were on their way back from it with Sylvester McCoy, but I suspect that the powers that be by that time of the BBC decided that the series was due to leave. So the idea of costuming the Doctor rather than dressing him was kind of the case before the reboot. And I think it was a very positive thing that they made Christopher Eccleston looked like somebody who was in the time that he was spending most of his time in. And in fact, when Rose brings him to meet her mother for the first time, she mentions how much older he is rather than the fact that he looks so odd. So there's something to be said in the way they wanted to present the character at that time. Now, I've heard all of the stories about how difficult Christopher Eccleston was to work with, and I had a very short conversation with John Barrowman once in which he really didn't have any nice things to say about Christopher Eccleston, but from more recent interviews and things, it seems that he was just kind of unhappy in the part because he was not allowed to play the character the way he wanted to. They wanted him to be a romantic lead, they wanted him to be a comedian, and that was completely out of his wheelhouse, very out of his comfort zone. And so, despite that, though, there was still a lot of subtle humor, there was a lot of action that we never used to see in Doctor Who. It used to be very stage-bound. They would go into a small set and have to, not move around a whole lot. And they did a lot more location shoots under Eccleston's time, and they were able to run to places. They were having to get places that weren't just 4 steps away, and it added an element of realism to everything but the fact that people don't travel through time in police boxes. And it gave me a whole new appreciation for the show, and it was something that led me with a great deal of hope that Doctor Who was going to finally live up to the promise of its origins, which was to have a science fiction adventure that is relatable, believable, and fun. So, with that, If you have some comments on what you think about Christopher Eccleston or any of the other doctors, and we'll get to the other doctors too as we get closer to Jodie Whittaker, I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. So please do leave some notes in the comment section. I miss a lot of our British followers, so I hope that you're still out there and willing to throw in a line or two for us. We've missed you. In the meantime, don't go far.